Right, you ready?
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Bryan Barsness, Vice President of Sales and Marketing here at GrubMarket.
I told you. Carry on. You did fine. Carry on.
Oh, the GrubMarket story. Cool. Yeah, so we're GrubMarket. We are a vertically integrated food tech company, essentially.
Yeah.
So the way that it started is Mike Hsu is our CEO. He came out of like the tech world of like Oracle and eBay. He grew up next to farmers, so he really wanted to empower farmers. So after his tenure in tech, he wanted to cite a little bit of a passion project. So he created GrubMarket.com. GrubMarket.com is really an e-tailer, right? So direct to consumer, kind of really trying to give that farmer's market feel, but allow you to have that at your home and not have to leave. This was before COVID, so this was almost 11 years ago now. And so a lot of like locally sourced, organic, of course, these types of fields in San Francisco. And really wanted to make sure that those consumers got fresh, whole, mostly produce, but we'd also do dairy, meats, proteins, fully outer aisle type of stuff, breads and things like that. So it developed over time. And again, mostly local, trying to get to people. It expanded down to LA, so now we cover most of the state of California on the retail side of things. But, and he developed the technology. He actually wrote a lot of his own code to get to that platform. As many people do, though, right? They get into food and they have these wonderful ideas of let's go ahead and use technology to connect the farmer to the consumer, and then they realize it's a little more complicated than that. And so he started actually acquiring wholesalers. Now, this gave him a surety of supply, right? So obviously some cost savings, because now you have internal costs versus external costs, right? You can save on that, especially the warehousing space, because getting to consumers is expensive, right? And so now we're able to distribute out of our own warehouses. We have profitable businesses that are already operating, which gives us a little more runway when we're trying to get to the consumer and operate that way too. And of course, the distribution network, sourcing, making sure you know the right people. And then the biggest thing was learning. He was able to really go in and learn from people. I think that was a big deal. So that's what kind of started our venture into the wholesale world. And now we have some, 40 some wholesalers all across the United States and Canada. We're lots of companies, so we have tech companies now, and that was part of it. So then he got into it, he realized that technology in this industry is somewhat antiquated in a lot of ways.
Agreed.
Yeah, and he's like, well, I can do better. This is my wheelhouse, right? And so he listened to a lot of our now general managers, presidents, and those sorts of things. The business we bought, took it out, and that's where we came out with what's called Wholesale, which is an ERP.
So you're probably going to shout at me for saying this, but it sounds like you're the Amazon of fresh produce.
That's kind of exactly what we're trying to do, is stay exclusively in food, right? So you can't go to GrubMarket.com and order, push pins or paper or anything like that. It's all food-based for GrubMarket.com. But yeah, that's allow for digital distribution.
And help me, so the consumer is completely as one with Amazon, fully gets it. Do they get it for food? Because there's other territories, say like in the UK, such schemes haven't got off that well because the consumer likes to go into the retailer.
The United States, I think COVID obviously accelerated a lot of that. We happen to be at the right place at the right time. But we have a niche. If you want to go get the cheapest, that's not going to be what's there. We're really about supporting the farmer. And so, what we have there is a price point for people who, and let's face it, it's expensive even getting from a local farm to a consumer. So, the costs are built into that, but yeah, you can go buy local milk and everything else. And so that's really what the passion was. And it's a challenge to scale, because local in North Dakota, which is where my family's from, is very different than local in California. And so, of course, there's going to be some economies of scale that have to happen there, but now with our bigger and growing, ever-growing network, right? Our latest valuations, we went from in 11 years to multi-billion-dollar corporation. So we've grown pretty fast.
So throw it out further. 5 years down the line, what's it going to look like?
We'll continue to expand internationally. We just bought our first South African company, Global. And so they do distribution, actually mostly not in the United States quite yet. Their distribution networks are in Africa and Asia and Europe. And so being able to continue that sourcing, we have Salix Fruit, who's here at PMA with us, and they do a lot of Latin America distribution to Asia and all over the world, Europe, and they just opened another facility, I think, in Egypt. So yeah, I think that being able to provide that experience to anybody who wants it is the goal. Of course, getting to the consumer globally in that way is going to be harder and harder, but I mean, there's so many. The sustainability quotient of when you're able to do local, when you're able to do it, you still got to be able to feed people. So sometimes you can do local, and sometimes you got to be able to augment that. But having the distribution network to do that internally is key. I mean, it's logistics. You mentioned Amazon. Amazon's known for their logistics and being able to get to that. So we have a resource, a plethora of people to be able to lean on who've been doing that for a while.
What do you want from everyone listening in, dialing in? Do you want to collaborate? Do you want more wholesalers to JV to acquire? Are you looking for AI companies, software companies to what? Are you a collaborative organisation?
Very much so.
How can we help? Because there's some magic here. You know that.
Yeah, I think it's really going to be how can we help whoever's interested. We have a lot of other companies. We have labor companies. We have, of course, we have technology. We have our own AI, which, to my knowledge, right now we're the only one globally that I know that's really dedicated towards produce AI in particular, and proteins it does as well. But I mean, and what was actually really cool about that was I've been watching like the originators of AI and what they're trying to do and how we're able to do it. You can literally ask Siri and get an answer on your data. So any kind of question you have about your own data, you just ask Siri or Google Assist, and you could have that answer way back to wherever your company is, anywhere, right? And that's pretty cool, because what I find about produce particularly, we don't have a ton of time. And so if you're out here meeting with your customers, if you're meeting with growers, and you want to know yields and FOBs and things like that, like you either have to pre-plan that, which, let's be honest, doesn't always happen. We're not known for an industry of major PowerPoint presentations. Not that a grower would sit through it anyway. Right? But even your retailers, and so you want to know how quickly the question, how your business is doing. Am I expanding and accepting more product from you? Are you grading out properly with your product if I'm the shipper? You can ask that now with a question, whereas before you had to use a BI tool. One of the customers, to give you an example, he's a data analyst. He says that what he would take to do in a BI solution, right, anywhere from 8 to 12 hours. He can do in under an hour from an analyst using our AI. Wow. So same systems and things like that. So that kind of synergies. But even then, the easy question, like I have another customer who now they got a 45-minute commute. It's the United States. We drive a lot, more than we should probably, but we do it. He has a 45-minute commute. It's something simple that he can ask on his way on his commute is just, what trucks didn't ship last night that should have? And he can now call his customers on his way to work to say, hey, your load's a little late, but it's still coming. And that's the kind of power, remote access to your information that people have never had. And that's completely revolutionizing it, because I mentioned earlier, I'm talking to a data science. Not many companies in this room that can invest in a data scientist, right? And all of our solutions are really affordable, so that's nice. So if you want to collaborate on a technology perspective, that's great. If you want to collaborate like on a global perspective in terms of sourcing, of course, we've got a lot of produce. We need more growers, always need more growers, good growers, of course. We'd love to do that. If you want to have some insights on retail, we can talk about that. The labor thing, FSMA is a big thing in the United States right now, the Food Safety Modernization Act, right? Of course, our solutions are FSMA compliant. So the other thing, we're literally one of the technology companies that buy produce for produce, right? And so that's kind of cool, because we have to keep, we're pot committed in the industry.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. You're definitely a company to watch. And you're doing things very differently, positively, very, very differently. I think there's going to be a lot of other people going to be following you.
I just had a South African company come and talk to me. They're like, how do we do what you do in Africa? And I'm like, well, let's talk. So it's pretty exciting.
Right, we're running out of time. You're brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you.